What if the sun went out? If the sun no longer emitted light, then we would have eternal darkness. We would need lights on 24/7. Also, we would have massive food shortages. That's because no crops can grow without sunlight. We would likely have to eat artificial foods. Also, human health would get a lot worse. That's because the sun gives us vitamin D, which we need to survive. Within a week, the global surface temperature would be 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And within a year, the Earth would be minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The oceans would freeze over and we basically go into a new ice age. Many years later, the Earth would reach minus 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This is about the same temperature space would be without the sun. Some microorganisms on the Earth's crust would survive. Humans could also live in submarines in the deepest and warmest parts of the ocean.
Terrifying facts about space, part 1. There is one supermassive black hole that is 1 million times more massive than the Sun. It's wandering through space at about 3 million miles per hour. Most black holes remain attached to their galaxy, but this one is a rogue black hole whose galaxy got destroyed after colliding with another bigger galaxy. And it's 2 billion light years away from us. And if it does come our way, we won't even know because everything around us will immediately disappear.
In general, Mars is far better suited to ultimately scale up to be a self-sustaining civilization.
We're faced with a choice. Which future do you want? Do you want the future where we become a spacefaring civilization, or one where we are forever confined to Earth? And I say it is the first. To Mars.
This will make you never want to go into space. A man named Michael was alone in space with no other humans for thousands of miles. But then he heard static coming from his radio, and Michael had a gut-wrenching feeling. Hello, this is Michael Stanton of the Rising Dawn. Do you read me? Over. A breathless voice then replied, "Thank God. I didn't know how much longer I could survive out here. What's going on? Where are you communicating from?" The voice then said back, "I'm right outside your ship, Stanton. Open the hatch door and let me in." Michael's heart rate quickened. He found the strength to turn off the radio, and then he heard it. "Let me in," the voice repeated, but it wasn't like before. It sounded demonic, and Michael never opened the door. Everyone back home told him he could not have possibly heard those sounds in a space vacuum, but Michael still knew that thing was still out there.
Here's what happened in space this week.
Virgin Galactic performed a test run of their Spaceship Two, but the ignition sequence for the rocket motor did not complete, so they had to abort the test. Then the Inouye Space Telescope released the largest photo of a sunspot ever taken, and this sunspot is so massive that the Earth could easily fit inside. As well, SpaceX launched a Sirius XM satellite into orbit, but most importantly, they successfully landed a booster for the 69th time. And of course, the SN8 belly flop happened. Overall, even though it didn't land, this was still a successful launch, and it didn't land apparently because Elon said the fuel head or tank pressure was low. And of course, after everything was all safe, Elon went out to check the wreckage. As well, SN9 should be launching soon, although it recently tipped over, but it doesn't look super damaged. And lastly, this Monday there is a solar eclipse, but it's only a total solar eclipse in South America. You might be able to see something from North America.
On Space Fact Friday, we're going to talk about Mercury, the smallest planet in our solar system. Mercury is about a third the diameter of the Earth, and also we have moons like Ganymede and Titan that are larger than this planet. Mercury does not have an atmosphere, which means this is a world that's not very protected from various asteroids and comets that do strike the surface. Just looking at the surface right now, you can tell it's a very cratered one. These craters come in all different shapes and sizes, but my favorite crater are these ones that kind of look like Mickey Mouse. It's sometimes mistaken that Mercury is the hottest planet because it's the closest to the sun, so it's the most exposed. But again, because Mercury does not have an atmosphere, it doesn't trap heat very well at all. So on this side, exposed to the sun that you're looking at, it gets up to about 800 degrees Fahrenheit. And on the shadow side, it drops to 300 below zero. Despite this extreme switch in temperature, scientists still believe that there's water ice in some of these craters that are rarely exposed to the sun. Seriously though, am I the only one who thinks this looks like Mickey Mouse?
Here are some insane space facts I guarantee you didn't fucking know about. And it'll probably keep you up at night. Yeah, sorry. If you were standing on a planet that is 100 million light years away and looking back at our little baby blue planet, you would be watching the fucking dinosaurs! Due to how fast light travels, E.T. and his fucking 19 children could currently be observing this Big Daddy. Maybe that's why they haven't visited. Because they currently think this is us. Next is actually water in space. I know, eh? Well, see, water is the most common compound in the entire universe. So much so that it's been found inside of clouds in deep space. And in one tiny corner of our little old universe contains 114 trillion times that of all of Earth's oceans. So what you're telling me is, I can go for a peck and swim in space. Some alien Michael Phelps type shit. And thirdly, the largest volcano that we know of lives on our little red friend. Like, excuse me? You can see it from space! 374 miles across and 16 miles up. That's triple the height of Mount Everest. Right, Elon!
Sun facts. Facts about the sun. So the sun is definitely older than the earth, but the water we drink here on earth is older than the sun.
The sun is so big that if it were hollow, you could pour 1 million Earths into it and still have room left over. I'm just saying.
The sun's atmosphere far exceeds the earth, which means that we're technically living inside the sun.
What if two black holes collide? Black holes are gravitational giants in space, but sometimes these massive things crash into each other. The two black holes would get nearer and nearer. They would then begin to orbit each other, spinning around. Their matter and gas would be pulled into one vortex. Eventually, the two black holes will merge into one bigger black hole. But there would be some excess energy left over. This excess energy would be expelled into the universe, creating massive waves. This literally changes the shape of space. Albert Einstein predicted gravitational waves 100 years ago, but they were only observed by scientists in 2015.
Can you cry in space? Do tears work? Well, let's try it out. I can't cry on command, but I'm going to take some water, drinking water, put it in my eye just as if I was crying. Let's see what happens. Get myself nice and stable for you here. Here we go. So, just as if I started crying, my eye is full of tears. But you can see it just forms a ball on my eye. In fact, I can put more water in. And so if you keep crying, you just end up with a bigger and bigger ball of water in your eye. Until eventually it crosses across your nose and gets into your other eye, or evaporates, or maybe spreads over your cheek, or you grab a towel and dry it up. So yes, I've gotten things in my eye.
If you were to fall into a black hole from somebody else's perspective, it would look like you're getting closer and closer and closer, but getting slower and slower as you get closer until you hit this event horizon, and then you would just completely stop. It looked like you froze, but then you would get really, really red until you just disappeared. And from your perspective, it would look like you're falling into a hole. Basically, you'd be able to see the entire universe, but it's getting like smaller and condensing with all black around it, like you're kind of falling into a tunnel. If you had enough water, Saturn would float, but we're pretty sure that if you had enough water to float Saturn, the water would collapse under its own weight and form a new star. The sun and the moon appear to be the same size from here on Earth, and there's no reason for this, it's just pure coincidence. If our sun was scaled down to the size of a blood cell, the Milky Way would be the size of the continental United States.